Hello, everyone. Welcome this evening to our very last live info session. Information that artists, writers, any creators out there need to know to enter Edgar Allan Poe-inspired works for Poe Baltimore's Saturday Visitor Awards. My name is Enrica Jang. I'm Executive Director of Poe Baltimore and the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. Beautiful Baltimore, Maryland. I am also the administrator for the Saturday Visitor Awards, our new honor to recognize a new generation of artists and writers inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. We have been meeting every Thursday, almost every Thursday, for the last 2 months, getting everybody ready and in the mood to enter Poe-inspired works for the Saturday Visitor Awards. The portal is now open. Call for entries has begun as of Edgar Allan Poe's 213th birthday. January 19th is when the portal opened, and now we are accepting entries for the Saturday Visitor Awards. The deadline to enter, May 30th, 2022. So a little bit of information about Poe Baltimore, the presenters of the Saturday Visitor Awards. Poe Baltimore is the nonprofit organization created to fund, maintain, and interpret the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum in Baltimore and to celebrate Poe's legacy here, both here in Baltimore and beyond. And the second part of our mission and part of why we created the Saturday Visitor Awards, to recognize Edgar Allan Poe, just the outsized impact that Poe has had on popular culture, continues to influence artists to this day. The greats, just about everybody you can think of, with the through line to Edgar Allan Poe, the inventor of the detective story, master of the macabre, master of horror and fiction. Where would we be if not for Edgar Allan Poe? So Poe Baltimore, we continue to celebrate Poe's legacy, both here in Baltimore and beyond, and the Saturday Visitor Awards is our way to recognize the artists and creators who continue to be inspired by Poe and keep Poe in popular culture. A little bit of a plug for Poe House, as ever. Our non-pandemic hours, Thursday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now, we are open on a very limited basis at this time, so reservations are required, but you can get information at poebaltimore.org. We also continue with virtual programming this year, including the Virginia Poe Bicentennial, a brand new program this year, the 200th anniversary of Edgar Allan Poe's beloved wife, Virginia Poe. We'll be talking a little bit more about that program later. But tonight, our final quick overview of frequently asked questions and tips. I do have a little bit of new information now that the awards have call for entries have been open for the last week. There are some little tips and tweaks that I can offer as I'm seeing some of these entries roll in, a little bit of information that I can share with you before you enter your pieces. Now, this is still the call for entries, and as the awards administrator, it is my job to help you navigate the system, help you prepare your entries so that you put your best Poe work forward. And get everything ready for the judges to see. So there are no penalties at this time. There are no, you're not going to step on anybody's toes. You're not going to upset anybody. The entire point of the call for entries is this info session is to share the best information that we can with you to make things absolutely clear for you when you enter your works so that everything is ready for the judges, so that everything is lined up perfectly for the judges. So please, if you find this information useful or you find that you need some more information, do not hesitate to get a hold of us, and I'm going to share that contact information with you in just a bit. But in addition to this video, you can go back into our video library here on YouTube or on Facebook Live. You can see the various sessions that we have offered in December and January, talking about the entry form, talking about the categories, and a little bit more in-depth information about the judging process. So you can take a look at this small library collection of videos and look for this information. But if there's anything you don't find, please feel free to reach out. Now, important dates to remember. Obviously, we're past January 19th. Happy birthday, Edgar Allan Poe. So the call for entries have opened as of Poe's birthday on the 19th. The deadline to enter, May 30th. That's the day before the last day of May. That portal will close at 11:59 p.m. We're going to shut that window right down on your fingers at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. That's New York time. So please consider that you want to have these entries in well before the deadline. So if there's anything that needs to be fixed, or if the administrator needs to get a hold of you, there's a lot more time to fix things. It's a lot more time to help massage your entry and get those things in. If everything goes well, if we perform triage, we get everything to the judges and the judges have their stuff together, we usually around July 30th announce the official nominees for the awards, send the invitation for the nominees to come to the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival in Baltimore, and the winners are announced at the festival every year. Now, you see this date, October 8th, my weekly reminder that, of course, from out the pandemic shadow, we have not yet lifted. So who knows what's going to happen this year, but the festival tentatively scheduled October 8th, but this is not an official date, but something to keep in mind as we move forward. The festival usually held on the weekend closest to Poe's death date, October 7th. So the weekend closest to October 7th is usually the weekend for the festival. And that's what we're aiming for this year, but this date not quite official yet, but right about what you can expect. Saturday, visitorawards.org for all things awards. On that page, you will find the entry guidelines. You can download them as a PDF, take them with you, print them out, study them closely, even if you have entered the awards before, even if you've won before and you're entering a new work this year. Please download these entry guidelines. Cannot stress this enough. Want to share with everyone. It's very important. Some things have changed this year. So do yourself a favor. Download those entry guidelines or read them on our website. There are some more frequently asked questions, answers you can find on the website. But if there's any question, what do I like to say? There's no question. You want to get in touch with us at contact@poefestinternational.org or send an email through the portal on SaturdayVisitorAwards.org website. And ask us questions about your piece. You're not ruining the surprise or giving anything away by getting a hold of the awards administrator to ask your questions. Definitely use us as a resource. We want to answer your questions. We want to make sure that your piece is seen to best effect by the judges. And the one thing we do ask, please do not request SVA entry information via social media. Please don't tag us on Twitter or send us direct messages on Facebook, something like that. You want to send an email. You want to get a hold of us via the website. That's the best way. There are different teams who are looking at our social media feeds, and so they may not be able to help you, and it's going to take too much time, and your question might not get to me. The best way to get a hold of the administrator, is to contact me through the website. All right, well, this is about the time that I show our who can enter the Saturday Visitor Awards video and talk about the original categories. We'll come back in just a moment and explain the categories, always important to overview. All right. So those categories, a little bit of information about those. You'll find more on the website, but very briefly, the Saturday Visitor Awards are offered in two categories: adaptations of Poe's life or works. Portraiture falls here. Poe was a real person, so portraits of Poe, portraits of other historical figures follow here. But this can be a very creative category. We have seen just about every medium. Poe just appears just about everywhere. In any medium when it comes to that famous likeness, that giant forehead, the iconic mustache. So portraiture falls here because Poe was a real person, so an adaptation of Poe's life, this fits here. Biography does fit here, given the narrative nature of biography. Now, here's where we always note that the Saturday Visitor Awards are intended to recognize artistic works rather than academic criticism. The awards are not, this is not an academic conference, so anything anything a little bit more on the academic side, something you'd submit to a conference, not necessarily something you'd submit for the SVAs, unless there's a question about that and you want to send that to me and see if it qualifies. But biography does fit here. Now, a historical biography, if you get a little bit more creative with Poe's biography, that might get shuttled over to the other category, the original works category. But if you are just presenting Poe's life or a part of his history in a creative, original way, that would still fall into adaptation here. More classical adaptations you might be familiar with: direct animation, feature films, short films, film dramatic adaptation of Poe works, his actual works, even if it's more modern day presentations of Poe's actual works. Adaptation falls here. So that can get a little bit muddy, and sometimes, and there have been times, that the judges feel that the work maybe takes a little bit more dramatic license. If something is just better suited to the original works category, it might get shuttled to the other category, and vice versa. The original works category, works inspired by Poe, using Poe as a character, perhaps in original film, novels, plays, this kind of thing. Sequels count, prequels, your original work but inspired by Poe. Any basis for original story that comes from Poe or is inspired by Poe would fall here. And of course, original poetry would fall here. So we understand that artistic works, by their very nature, they're things that are original to you, but they may fall in these different categories. Now, I want to stress that we do get a little bit of anxiety about this, and I do get questions about your category, and I welcome those questions. If you have, if you're a little bit uncertain about where to go, contact the administrator. I'm very happy to talk it through with you, then make a decision or help you make that decision about how to enter your piece. And you might find that the judges may determine that if, as a group, as a panel, they decide to kick your category over to the other, or kick your work over to the other category. Do not worry, you're not penalized for this. It's not your SATs. You don't get penalized for guessing. So make your best guess or get a hold of us before you enter. We really do want to help you. And again, you are not, I want to stress, you're not ruining any surprises by getting a hold of the administrator. You want to use this resource, and I can help you. And our team can help you put your best foot forward. So things to think about for the SVA categories. Something new this year: you may only submit one piece per category. You want to choose your best Poe work. Now, you may enter a separate piece in both categories, and that is just fine, but one per category. And then we understand that there are creators out there who, very inspired by Poe, maybe create 10 works in a single year, all inspired by Poe. We understand, beautiful work. It's hard to choose. It's hard to kill your darlings, but you want to put your best foot forward. And one way to do that is to think about eligibility. Now, as you look on the website, read a little bit more about this eligibility: who may enter. Any media, art, performance, and or writing that adapts or is inspired by Poe's life and works. There are no restrictions for medium, no restrictions for genre. We have seen films, we have seen concerts, we have seen plays, we have seen novels, original poetry, we've even seen beadwork. I love to say that one because it was such a wonderful piece. So there's no restriction in terms of medium, and no restrictions for genre, even though we do have the Young Saturday Visitor Awards. So that is more of a category that is specific to Maryland high school students, whereas the Saturday Visitor Awards at large, the Greater Saturday Visitor Awards at large, there are no restrictions for age, no restrictions for genre. So we have seen horror, we have seen children's books, we have had winners of just about every age, as young as 9, nominees as young as 9. So something to really consider here. The floor is wide open. We understand that Poe continues to inspire, and we'd love to see this breadth of work. However, the eligibility is restricted to any piece released, printed, distributed, or first performed between January 1, 2019 and December 31, 2021. That is the previous 3 years. So what does that mean? If you have created a work, you were inspired, New Year's Eve stayed up all night, and you spent all of New Year's Day working on your Poe piece, sorry, deadline for your piece having been released to the world released to the world was December 31. So if your piece was created after then, you are not eligible until next year. Fear not, fear not, we'll still be here. So this is something that does trip people up. So understand eligibility. Your piece must have been released, printed, distributed, or first performed between January 1, 2019 and December 31, 2021. Eligibility is on a rolling basis. So next year, perhaps if you do have more than one work that you're sort of trying to decide which one you should enter, take a look at eligibility. When was that piece first unveiled for the world? And it must have been released to the world. Even traditional or non-traditional works, totally fine. Traditional publication, traditional kind of distribution, or non-traditional like social media, those things are acceptable, but they must have been out. This is for popular culture, so it must have been out in the culture. So look at eligibility. If you created something 3 years ago that's about to lose out on eligibility, that might be the piece you want to enter this year, because your other work will still be eligible next year. And if you don't win this year, you have that opportunity next year to enter. So it's something to think about. If you have more than one piece, what's going to phase out of eligibility first? Now, it's important to know reprinted or re-released materials are discouraged. These are new awards. You may not have heard about the Saturday Visitor Awards, and you created this magnum opus 5 years ago, and you're so desperate for the judges and the world to now see this piece for the Saturday Visitor Awards. I'm sorry, please, reprinted or re-released materials really are discouraged. We're looking at something created in the last 3 years. So unless the piece has been changed materially, and the judges will look for this, and you really want to make your best case, and you don't want to try to slip one past them because that's embarrassing for everybody. You really want to be as honest as possible. The work must have been changed materially in a serious way for the judges to consider it a new piece rather than something just reprinted or re-released. But if there's a question, there's no question. Get a hold of us, ask that question, and we will help you before you enter your work. For people who may have entered works previously, if your work has been nominated previously but did not win, you are eligible to enter again. However, if you've won, winning is eternal. You are eternally the Saturday Visitor Award winner, and your piece may not be entered again, neither in whole nor in part. So those things to think about, and there's more about eligibility on the website. So just a reminder, everybody, if anybody watching tonight, you have some questions, I'm here, I'm live, I'm very happy to answer. If I don't see any questions tonight, you can get a hold of us online, but this is an opportunity to ask your questions live and maybe even share. I can even share that question with everybody and get that answered for you. So just a reminder that that's possible. So the awards have been, the portal call for entries has been open for the last week or so. I am seeing some wonderful entries come in. There are a couple of things, though, I do want to share with folks. Thankfully, people aren't committing the bigger, more egregious sins. People have been watching these series. They've been learning. They've been listening. They've been applying what they've heard, and I do appreciate all of that. I'm really glad that we've been able to be this resource for you, and thank you very much for listening and following directions. A couple of things I am seeing, and I'm going to share some information with you tonight to kind of save that heartache, and we'll go over some stuff that you, if you've seen this video series, you've seen before. But we really want to bring this home for the folks who are just seeing this information for the first time. Please understand eligibility. We are looking for completed works. Not it's something not in part, this kind of thing. You really want to look for completed works, first released, published, printed, and available to be seen by the public at some point in the previous 3 years, between January 1, 2019 through December 31, 2021. We went over this a little bit, just a little bit ago. Please provide a working link. We do not have the budget to bring the judges to you. So the beautiful 10-foot tall sculpture of Poe that you've created in your studio, unfortunately, we cannot bring the judges to you. And I understand that it's a little bit nerve-wracking that you have to take some photos and you have to send them to the judges. But you will be asked to do this no matter the medium. You will be asked to provide a URL, link to the complete work. Please make sure that it's a working link. Double check that link. For my sake, for your sake, you are required to provide a working URL to the work for the judges to view it. We will make one attempt. We know things happen. Servers go out. Things get moved. I understand. We make one attempt to contact the artist if the link is broken or if it requires passwords. Don't require passwords. If we can't reach you or you fail to provide a link on that second try, your entry will be disqualified. So do all of us a favor. Make sure, check your links, make sure that those work, make sure it's correct. And if you don't know what a URL is, please ask a friend. And make it easy to view. Make it easy to view. Thankfully, most of the people I've seen entries from this past week, they are doing this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Make your entry easy to view. We know artists work with crazy programs and file types when they create. You wanted to deliver the file in a format that is universal. Judges are coming from just about everywhere, just about every background. And we want to make sure that we don't have the budget to give them that Photoshop app or gosh, just After Effects or any other crazy things that people do. So we want to make sure that you've given us files in some kind of a universal format, like a PDF, PNG, JPEGs that don't require special software to open. We really do discourage editable files. So don't send us Word documents. Don't send us Pages files. You want to make sure PDFs are definitely the way to go when it comes to written works like that. It's a way to preserve your formatting. It's a way to preserve your fonts. So the judges are not going to suffer you giving them this beautiful artistic font for them to read, and then their computer doesn't download it and it's just gobbledygook, and it's hard to fix that. So PDF is the way to go. Embed your fonts and you won't have that problem at all. We do discourage social media links just because Facebook moves around and the format's all weird, and it's like tweets can get moved and all this other craziness. So what you can do is you can screen cap some of those social media links if you happen to be a person who releases your work socially that way. And that's the best way to screen cap or PDF links to that, and make sure that the judges can see when it was posted, when it was released. You want to assume the judges don't have Photoshop, don't have Kindle accounts. Please don't ask them to download anything on something like Amazon. So here's a little bit of new information that I'm seeing, and hopefully this will be helpful to the people who are preparing your entries now and have not seen this before. Do's and don'ts. Do use file sharing services like Dropbox or Google Drive. Something like that is a very easy way to make sure that the judges are going to go where you need them to go, and they're going to see what you need them to see. So do use file sharing services like that. Usually keeps things from getting deleted, keeps things from going all over the place. That is a great way to share with the judges. Please don't require passwords to open your files. The links that you send us are not going to be posted anywhere. They're only going to the judges. So don't require passwords to open those files. Invariably, passwords get lost or the judges miss the instructions on how to open the file with a password. You don't want to have to do that. They don't want to have to do that. So keep the link private if you need to, but don't require passwords to open that file. Do link directly to the work. And this is actually very important. We did have one person link to a website that required a $0 purchase. And that sounds great, and it seems easy enough, but the judges actually don't like to do that. So you want to send them a link that links directly to the work so they don't have to go digging through a website or scrolling through a portfolio online to do that. I know we know that you want them to see the breadth of your work. It's a nice little tactic in theory, but do link directly to the work that you want them to view. That is the fastest and easiest way to make sure that they're looking at the correct piece and not kind of seeing something strange on your website and thinking that that's your entry. Save the confusion for everybody. Do link directly to the work. Don't link to websites that require $0 purchases or going to a separate page. Link directly to where you want them to go. Please don't use transfer services that expire after 30 days. Programs like WeTransfer or anything like that, usually those kinds of services expire after 30 days. Now, we do understand that when it comes to large files, that is a great way to send a large file to a recipient, but invariably they do expire, and then the judges are going to have to ask me to contact you so that they can access their file, and that's very difficult to do, and it's very disruptive. So the best thing that we can recommend for large format files, something like YouTube, something like Venmo that offers a private link or a private link setting so that the public can't see it, only people who have the link can access it. That's the kind of thing that you want to do if you've got something like a feature film or even just any kind of film that you want to share or other things that are large format files. Do package covers or multiple pages into a single file. Zip files are acceptable. It's a way to do it. At least it's a central place for a judge to see everything. But PDFs really are preferred. It's just the best way to get everything uniform, everything together, preserve the formatting, putting it all in a PDF, generally preferred. So do package all of those elements together into a single file. Again, we just said don't link to websites that require $0 purchases. I hope that that's helpful. Again, no penalties if something gets a little bit wonky. That's why we triage all of the entries, make sure that everything's okay. But we don't want anybody to be surprised, and we know that everybody's doing their best. And I hope that this is less confusing for anybody as they're thinking about how to package the file. Okay, as you consider the category to enter your work. I'm just going to do a brief overview, review of what the primary consideration is for the judges. The judges do have a set of guidelines to try to make the judging a little bit more uniform, so that all the judges are looking at the same kind of guidelines. But they also have the same primary considerations. So given these primary considerations, and I'm going to share these with you so that you know what the judges really are looking for ultimately from a piece, especially with a disparate collection of genres or disparate collection of mediums. How can we compare these against one another? These are the primary considerations that the judges are looking at, no matter the genre, no matter the medium. For the adaptation category, the primary consideration is if someone asked you, the judge, for an introduction to Poe's life or writing, would you recommend this piece to them? So someone is asking a Poe scholar, a Poe aficionado, a judge, give me something that's going to introduce me to Poe. Give me an idea into Poe. Is the piece a contribution worthy of Poe's legacy, presenting either Poe's writing or the facts of his life in a creative and original way? This is the primary consideration. Lots of other considerations for the judges, but as you are entering your piece, as you are shaping your artist statement, help the judges see why this primary consideration applies to your work and make that connection for them. For the original works category, primary consideration: is the work essential rather than merely commercial? If someone who already loved Poe asked you as an expert to recommend works with a dramatic take on Poe's life or writing, would this piece make your best of list? And that's why ahistorical works are eligible here. This is the primary consideration for original works. And again, when you have a wide array of different kinds of pieces, how can the judges possibly compare and contrast these things and judge them against one another? It's because they all have, this is the primary consideration for the judges. And you want to, when you consider your artist statement, when you consider what you're sharing with the judges and how you talk to them about how Poe has inspired you, you really want to draw that direct line you want to share with them, how they would answer this question. And that's something to think about when you're formulating your responses. I shared a little bit of this with everyone in the back on the last video. Visual elements, something like book covers or album covers, do make a strong impression, even for non-visual works. So obviously, our visual artists out there who are submitting their works, packaging, you know the value of packaging. For our novelists, for our original poets, for our musicians out there, if you have a strong visual element like an album cover, like a book cover, include it, and that's okay. It's not part of what will be judged, but I guarantee it does make a strong impression. Now, if you don't have it, you don't have one, and that's okay. It is really ultimately the work that is going to be judged. Those 10,000 words, those best 20 minutes of that feature film, that's what's going to make the biggest impact for the judges. But doesn't help if you do. It does help if you do have something like this, if you believe in it, and you worked on this cover, or you got this for your book. Definitely include that as an element for your piece. Okay, When it comes to your artist statement, summary, brevity is always the best policy. We do, every once in a while, do get very long-winded statements. And while you are given 10,000 characters to express to the judges how Poe inspires you, you really will get more mileage out of your statement by being brief. Being succinct, being impactful, so that the judge can go to the work to get the truer impact, the better impact. You don't want to over-explain your piece to the judges. You really do want them to feel the piece and respond to the piece rather than recoiling at your statement. So I do recommend shorter summary when it comes to your artist statements rather than longer treatises, this kind of thing. The piece should speak for itself, even though we do ask you some questions about it. So these things to keep in mind as you are preparing your entries. If there's anything that needs to be changed or fixed for the people who have entered their pieces, it's okay. Get a hold of me and we'll do our best to help you out. So the entry form is on the website now. You can download the entry form, a sample entry form, so you can see all the questions that you will be asked before you have to answer them. You can download that first, get your answers ready, and then you can just cut and paste them in the entry form. One thing to note, this is a form that you cannot save your entries. It's not something you can come back and work on. It's not really a long form, so it's not something that we allow people to sort of save their progress and come back. So get those answers formulated, get all that stuff ready first, get it into a file so that you can just copy and paste it very easily. That's it's just the best advice that I can give when it comes to the entry form. Sort of getting to the end of our time. So finally, just a little bit more emphasis. Any genre, any medium. If you don't see it on this list, you can still enter it. If your work is inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, we want to see it. You're an excellent company if you love Poe and we want to share your work. We want to see your work. Finally, people do send different entries of different length. We've seen novels, we've seen poems, we've seen feature films, we've seen short animations. All of those things are welcome. However, if you do have a long form entry, creators are asked to provide a link to the entire completed work, but you are also asked to highlight the best 20 minutes and the best 10,000 words. You are asked to do this via page numbers and timestamps in the file that you send. The judges are going to view that excerpt in the first round. And just think about this. The judges are going to be seeing a number of different entries in that first round. That's the most entries they're going to be seeing in all of the rounds. They only have a little bit of time. So you want to choose your best 20 minutes, your best 10,000 words. If it's the first 20 minutes, so be it. You can say that. The first 20 minutes, watch the first 20 minutes of my feature film. But we do ask that you still send a link to the complete work, because the judges, if they do respond to those 20 minutes, you want them to be able to go back and see the entire work and continue to make that decision. That's going to help them. Similarly with 10,000 words, that's like incredible 10,000 words. They're going to want to see the rest of this thing that has just so moved them. So you still have to provide a link to the entire completed work, but you will be asked to highlight those best 20 minutes. You're not killing your darlings here. You're just pushing the cutest ones to the front. And that's the best advice that I can give. If you have any more questions about the entry form, we do have an entire video devoted to the entry form, a little bit more information on the website as well. So we have a number of videos out there for you to talk about the different aspects of the Saturday Visitor Awards. But if you have any questions, there's no question. Get a hold of us, and this is the way to do it. SaturdayVisitors.org, where you'll find entry guidelines, other frequently asked questions, and how to contact me. All right. You know, I have not seen a lot of questions in our videos, but I have seen a lot of views on these videos as time goes on. So I know that folks are out there watching. Thank you for joining. This is the final live info session for a couple of months, but I hope to be in contact with you. I hope that you will share your Poe works. I hope our shy folks out there, no Poe loners. Don't be Poe lone. You want to share your work, and you created this beautiful thing, so you want to make sure that the Poe Nation can see it. Thank you, everyone. Connect with us, PoeFest International. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Poe Baltimore, also on Instagram and on YouTube and on Facebook. So contact at the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. If you do enjoy programming like the Saturday Visitor Awards, like the festival, just know the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards is a free event to attend in Baltimore. And the last 2 years, pandemic hasn't yielded good things, but one of the things that have come out of the pandemic is a lot of virtual content surrounding the festival. And if you enjoy that free programming, you want to keep it going, please help us keep Poe's Chamber Door open. Make a donation to Poe Baltimore by texting Poe Baltimore to 44321 to donate. Another way, everybody loves Poe merch. Visit poehouseshop.com to pick up festival merchandise, to pick up Poe House merchandise. That is another way to keep Poe's Chamber Door open to visitors. This is, again, the last live session for the Saturday Visitor Awards before I believe we'll start again in May, the final month before the deadline, May 30th. So we'll see you again for the Saturday Visitor Awards. But the next time we're live online, we are kicking off the Virginia Poe Bicentennial, the most poetical year to honor the beloved wife of Edgar Allan Poe, a figure obscure and yet front and center in Poe's history, Poe's story. So we'll be sharing her story, a muse, poetess, child bride, and daughter of Baltimore. Our very first session of the Virginia Poe Bicentennial Discussion Series, Meet Virginia. Sunday is the anniversary of Virginia Poe's death in 1847 in New York. So we are honoring her with a Death Day commemoration and graveside chat with a representative from Virginia Poe's grave and a wreath laying at Westminster Hall. And then we'll have a discussion with Robert McCormick, the Director of Education at the Poe Cottage at Fordham, the site of Virginia Poe's death in 1847. She is a fascinating figure, an enigmatic figure, and again, obscure and yet not. So this is going to be an incredible series. I'm very excited to share more. And so I hope to see everybody live on Sunday as we share our commemoration for Virginia. Thank you, everyone, again. And we hope to see you soon. And I look forward to your entries in the Saturday Visitor Awards. Have a good night, everybody.